This video, episode 2, is all about the move from Henderson to Fremantle. The MV Perth had been sitting in Henderson for some years, probably around 20 years. It hadn't moved at all. The engine hadn't run. In fact, they'd almost abandoned it for about 5 years. And it became an issue on the mooring. We were happy to leave it there, but Department of Transport and Marine ordered it off the moorings almost immediately we purchased it. It was made exceptionally difficult in that whilst they ordered it off the mooring, there was no alternative offered. And as things are here in Western Australia, you can't just move your vessel to another mooring or make a mooring. The Department of Transport controls all the moorings here, and they're not cheap. They're extremely expensive, particularly for big vessels like this. So we were very fortunate that within Department of Transport Marine there was one gentleman who had alternatives. We actually had one of the best moorings in Fremantle offered to us. At great cost, but nonetheless it meant we could complete what we set out to do. The issue then became, we're talking about a vessel that hasn't operated for 20 odd years, maybe longer. Its engine hadn't run, and we would need to first assess the hull, secondly run the engine, see if it was capable of moving itself, thirdly finding a crew that had adequate skill and hopefully experience with the vessel, and finally we needed support craft, because where we were headed, if the vessel sunk, it would have been a major disaster. We spent probably 3 months and delayed the move as long as we could to check the engine, have it running. We ran it for almost 5 hours one day. We checked the steering, we checked the propellers. We had professional divers come in and clean the rudders, the propellers, the seacocks, and check other parts of the hull. By the time we'd done all that, we had a number of engineers come across and people experienced with wooden sailing vessels. The vessel was able to make the trip. What we didn't know was just how reliable the engine was and whether it wouldn't develop issues as we progressed. It was a couple of hour trip. We did a bit of brainstorming, we costed out tugboats, and they were prohibitive. I mean, mind-boggling is the way to describe the prices, and we ruled that out. And the issue with that was we had the MV Perth weighs 160 tonne, so you can't just move it around with a couple of dinghies. And if the weather came up, if the wind came in, you'd need some serious bollard pull to move the vessel. So we scanned, and we thought, well, we need a bigger vessel, and blow me down, a tug came available. Now, if you look at the photos, it really didn't look like a tug, and at first I didn't believe it was. When I went on board and had a look inside, I realised this was actually a serious tug. I didn't understand why it looked so bad until I found out it had been used in a movie, as a movie drop. So if you look at the picture of what was once called the Eric Coombs, it operated in Port Kembla, I think for Caltex, in the oil refinery there. And since about 1986, maybe earlier, actually, might have been in the 70s. It was built in Tasmania. It had everything. It had a winch, it had a quart nozzle, it had a cat engine. It was a serious tug vessel, as you can see from the photo. What happened was that it was sold and brought over to WA on a ship, and that's why it's lifted in the air in this photo. And the primary purpose to bring it over was to make a movie, and the movie was called, bless us all, The Darling Darling. I've seen the movie. I probably won't be rushing to see it again. and they renamed the tug the Darling from the Eric Coombs. So we ended up with this tug that needed quite a bit of work, but the cost of the tug and the work was still far less than what commercial tugs and all the requirements that went alongside that. Now, just to be clear, we didn't intend to pull it. We just needed to know that if something went wrong, we had a vessel on standby that could secure the vessel and get it out of trouble. Now, that's just being responsible, I feel. On the day, we had a good contingent of professional engineers and skippers, deckhands. In fact, we even had one guy who worked on the vessel and was the last to operate it in 2007 when it was parked up. We felt we had, for each of the vessels, a good contingent of qualified people who knew what they were doing. We had mechanics, and off we went. And we started the engine, we took off from the mooring. Now, there was one instruction, if you like, given to us by Department of Transport Marine. That was, once you come off that mooring, you're not to go back on it. We made good ground. We got halfway out of the heads, and then the engine started to overheat and the mechanic shut it down. We set up the towing ropes. There was no turning back. Off we went, and our skipper on the tug was first class. It's actually quite difficult to get out of there with a 160-ton vessel on a rope, and you think the heads are quite large until you got to negotiate it and not run anything aground. And our skipper did a fantastic job, and we made good progress up to just outside Fishing Boat Harbour. The problem we hadn't anticipated was to get it into the mooring area. We couldn't tow it because obviously the tug had run into the jetty. So the boys pulled the tug off, came alongside and tied it to the side, but that proved to be a mistake, not in a derogatory way. I mean a mistake of understanding of what we were dealing with, because the MV Perth's a 110-year-old wooden vessel, and you've got this big hunk of powerful steel next to it. When they hooked it up and tried to push alongside to guide it in, it was just too much pressure for the wooden hull, so they decided they'd abandon that idea. The mechanic stepped in and said, well, if we're only running it for a short time, I think we could start the engine and take it in. And in fact, we did that, but what we didn't know at the time was the engine had developed a chronic water leak in the header tank and an oil leak. It was too late. We just had to go for it. I'd like to say it was exciting, but it was it killed us all. It was frightening in that we felt quite responsible for this heritage vessel. Due to circumstances, there was no turning back. We had to do our best. And that's the story of the move of the MV Perth from Henderson through to where it is today in Fishing Boat Harbour. Well, thanks for watching the video. We'd really appreciate if you liked and subscribed, but also we have a GoFundMe site, and we're desperately trying to raise sufficient funds to have the vessel lifted and the hull inspected. It has been in the water for a long time. Or if you're a corporate perhaps and you would like to do a corporate sponsorship, we're happy to put together a package for you. It's a great vessel, it's got a great story, and it'd be great for your company to be associated with the restoration of this wonderful vessel. But yeah, have a look at the GoFundMe. The link is in the comments below. Thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed today.